Now, this is my privilege to invite for special speech Honorable R. Venkataramani sir.
श्री आर वेंकटरमणी भारत के 14वें अटॉर्नी जनरल हैं। आपका जन्म 13 अप्रैल 1950 को पुडुचेरी में हुआ था। आपने लोयोला कॉलेज चेन्नई से भौतिकी में स्नातक किया और फिर पुडुचेरी लॉ कॉलेज से कानून की पढ़ाई पूरी की। श्री वेंकटरमणी जुलाई 1977 में तमिलनाडु बार काउंसिल में पंजीकृत हुए और 1979 में सुप्रीम कोर्ट में प्रैक्टिस शुरू की। 1997 में आपको वरिष्ठ अधिवक्ता के रूप में नामित किया गया। श्री वेंकटरमणी ने 2010 और 2013 में विधि आयोग के सदस्य के रूप में कार्य किया। 1 अक्टूबर 2022 को राष्ट्रपति द्रौपदी मुर्मू द्वारा आपको भारत के अटॉर्नी जनरल के रूप में नियुक्त किया गया। आप अकादमिक गतिविधियों और कई लॉ स्कूलों के साथ शैक्षणिक कार्यों में शामिल रहे हैं।
I think I'm here to tell you that if you're seriously concerned about pursuit of the study of law, you must think about the rest of the world. And if you're seriously concerned about the pursuit of study of law, you must be a visionary. If you're seriously concerned about the pursuit of study of law, you must go beyond yourself. And why do I say only these very abstract things, seemingly abstract things? Now, about 10-15 years ago, courtesy my long association with a well-known figure in legal education, Professor Dr. Madhav Menon, I had occasion to participate in several exercises in concerning legal education. And one of the occasions, I came across a book published by American legal academic, and the title of the book was very interesting. The title of the book was Failing Law Schools. Failing Law Schools, about the law schools in USA. It excited my interest. I thought, why is it that somebody is writing about failing law schools in United States of America, which we think is a place where everything possible for development is taking place. And then as I read the book, I found that it was not only symptomatic of what is happening in law schools in the United States, but also probably prophetic of what's happening in the rest of the world. He was trying to bring attention of the legal academic to important concerns. Why do you train people to become lawyers? Is it merely for making them instrumentalities of serving the justice system, and very incidentally you also earn a livelihood out of that? Or where you become a part of a larger stream of consciousness of people and a social order where everything you do becomes so important in reshaping the social order. So everything you do must be so important. And he was also talking about the high cost of education in the United States of America. That's about 14, 15 years ago. And as you look at the growth of legal education in our country today, well, I'll halt for a minute to combine or probably link legal education with education in general in our country. It's easy to talk about the great developments and growth that has taken place in our country in the recent past, about 10 to 15 years. Enormous amount of development. Those of us who come from a generation of 1950s know that in the early 90s, the kind of education scenario in our country was vastly different compared to what's obtaining today. Courtesy large number of factors which have contributed to the changes. I'm not getting into all those factors. But what have these developments in education in general and legal education in particular, again, because of the large number of law universities which have come up, can we measure, evaluate them and say, have these contribute in any good manner to enhancing the quality of administration of justice and then turning people into better human beings to understanding the role of law in reshaping the social order? Very important questions. I don't study law only because I'm going to make a profession or livelihood out of that. Professor Vajpayee talked about the importance of ideas, liberty, freedom, innovation. I suppose every one of us in the course of our life would not only like to pursue happiness, which is a very difficult thing to do, but happiness, what would constitute happiness? I think each one of us must define for ourselves what would constitute happiness as a legal professional. Define for yourself. When you go deeper into the question of definition, you will find that the answer is very, very difficult to give. And as a lawyer, I find it very difficult to give. But I find happiness in saying that I am part of reshaping a social order in which everything I do, whatever I think, goes towards a larger purpose of reshaping our social order. And very important. And law, as long people talk about lobbying, social engineering, instrument and all that. But I don't think unless you really get deeper and deeper into this analysis, deeper and deeper into your own understanding, introspection of what I am going to do as a part of the larger social order. And I think that's where perhaps the goals of legal education would have been properly served. Hurry, then look at the larger number of law colleges and universities which have come up. The enormous number of growth of lawyers in our country. How are you going to get fulfillment in our profession? Do each one of us are being so fortunate to become attorney generals, advocate generals, or senior counsel, and run around in those glossy cars and big homes? Well, look at people who study law in the less advantaged schools and colleges in our country. People who come from lower middle classes, urban areas, village areas, and rural areas. Look at all of them. So I think therefore it's important for legal education to look at a larger picture of where we want to go. Unless we know where we want to go, I don't think we'll be probably playing our part in a noble way and in a creative way. Why I'm talking about this, the students assembled here. Because when you study law, you get absorbed in those, what's called, the demands of studying law alone. But the ability to connect law with other things. So therefore I say, if idea of liberty is important, innovation is important, how do each and every one of us can probably cherish its values of innovation, liberty? So in everyday practice, when I look at the court, Supreme Court, walk in the morning and walk out, I think this is a court, a place where it's like holding a mirror into the rest of the society. The issues confronting human beings in our country flow slowly to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court tries to resolve all of them in the best possible way. Why should they be resolved? So look at a country like communist China or some of those countries where you have dictatorships. Whenever I go to some law schools, I ask students this question, why don't you like to go to China and live there? We have a lot of critiques about what's happening in our country. Oh, this is not good, this is not good, and all that. But if you're going to value liberty as something so fundamental, please hold on to that value of liberty and understand further that if you hold on to it, you will become more and more creative, not only for yourself, but as I say, for the rest of the community. And that's the most fundamental value of legal education, in my understanding. If I have grown in this profession, I have cherished that important value. In my younger days in the profession, I worked so much, pro bono. And I have a lot of doing that. Why? Because you derive happiness in seeing somebody else's, problems being resolved without there being need to call upon to pay a cost for doing that. So I'm not talking about merely charitable work. All these ideas must become integral to your understanding of legal education. You look at the global scene today, how it's happened, what's happening in legal education. Whether you go to Australia or England or some of the European countries, the same problem, the same question are being asked about what's the role of legal education and how far we can enhance its relevance and context in ensuring that the world will be made a better place. Imagine for a minute that we don't have courts of justice. And then can you ask a question, why do we study law? Imagine for a minute that we study law, but we have courts of justice, we don't study law. And imagine for a minute that we have parliament, but a parliament with people not understanding how exactly we're able to fashion policies for our countries in a globalized world. 30, 40 years ago, evolving policies and looking at problems of a country was vastly different. But now we are moving towards probably a third or a fourth machine age, a different kind of a machine age, when our thinking process itself is captured by something beyond us. So all kinds of academics talked about how in future online, digital interventions will make legal education very different. That's only one part of the story. Whatever be the instrument which brings us closer to our studying law, that is absolutely secondary position. What is important is, what do we understand about what you propose to do? I think as long as we are blind to that, legal education will be an inadequate attendant to your life. So I talk about this important ethical values. So when ethical values are absent for legal education, I do not think that what purpose it can make even for your personal life. So ethics and the larger social purpose and redefining our social order and being part of a long journey, not only for our country but the rest of the world. In the past couple of years when I've been traveling to different parts of the world, I look at what's happening in legal education there. As I said, everybody is asking the same question, whether you go to Europe or, I said, even a country like Japan. So important for us in a country like India, where we say our GDP is increasing. India is having large amount of global trade and commerce. India is now occupying a great position in the global level. All that is very fine, but how do we sustain that? And who is going to sustain that? Only those who are educated so fundamentally and deeply in ethical values and the care and compassion for the rest of the community. If these two values are absent, I don't think we'll be able to sustain India's position at the global level. If India must become more important at the global level, in order to play its role, not only as a mere leader, the world understanding of who is a leader, I think, must undergo a change. We are no longer in it's called the Cold War area when Russia and the rest of the world are fighting against on ideological grounds. Those ideological grounds, I say, to a large extent have vanished. We must therefore talk about the new dimensions of freedom, liberty, and understanding. And therefore, India, in order to play the important role, it can play its role only if we, as students of law, understand the relevance of being a student of law. I appeal to each and every one of you to understand and study till not only you come out of the law school, but even thereafter, continue to analyze, understand, and what role you're playing as a student of law. I continue to be a student of law even today. I ask myself several questions, and at the end of the day, I ask myself one very important question. Have we made the world a better place by doing something good today? And that gives me pursuit of happiness, a more important position. I want each and every one of you to ask this question. Every minute of your life, every dimension of law you study, and understand the connection between different subjects of study and fields of study, and say, how is it going to make the world better? Am I going to be a good part of it, or am I going to be a witness outside it? Please ask this question. When you ask this question, probably gather answers to this question as you go more and more in your profession. You will find at some point of time, you have a very rewarding set of answers which were given to yourself. And gathering this rewarding set of answers, I think, is my pursuit of happiness. I wish each one of you when you do that. And I thank Rajshri and Pradeep for asking me to come and talk to you today evening. I wish you have more and more occasion when I can talk to you more personally, and probably little more, excitement of what all these excitement of being a student law is all about. Thank you so much.